Hello, everybody. My name is Kari, and I'm a part of UVU's Interfaith Leadership Fellows and the host of UVU Worldview Project. We are so excited to share the stories of 4 different students with different worldviews, beliefs, and perspectives. After interviewing each of these individuals, we will get back together as a group to discuss what we learned and ways that we hope to build interfaith dialogue here at UVU. I hope you enjoy these discussions as much as I did hosting them.
Okay, Mo, before we start, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. First, thanks for having me on the podcast. My name is Mohamed Maiga. I'm 21 years old from Mali in West Africa, and I came here at UVU for college. I am studying cybersecurity, graduating this semester, and my faith plays a big role in my life. It's a pleasure to be here.
We are so happy to have you. I will say this is my first time meeting Mo, talking to Mo. I've heard so many great things about him. When I started thinking about doing the podcast, I had multiple people tell me that I needed to ask Mo. So I'm so excited to talk to you today, hear a little bit about your worldview. So just kind of going to that, tell us a little bit about your history just with religion.
All right. So I was born and raised Muslim. 90+% of my country are all Muslim. And growing up, we would go to the masjid, the mosque. It's like church for Muslims. And faith was always a big part of what we did. My dad would teach me to give to the people who don't have enough. So would my mom. We have to do the 5 daily prayers. We have two different celebrations throughout the year called Eid. I started fasting really young, around 11 years old, the full month of Ramadan. So I think that faith has always been something that was prominent in my family. But then growing up, I had to find it through reflection, through reading the books and scriptures myself. And that I'm still on that journey. I consider myself as someone that's very ignorant at this point. But I think faith is something that is built over time and that is built through personal reflection and just finding the credible sources in every religion. So that's the path that I'm on right now.
That's so awesome. I think you bring up a great point about a lot of the times our faith journey, it starts from an example that our parents said or things that we do as a family, but it really does turn into something that you have to discover for yourself. So how would you describe your belief and your faith now?
I consider myself as a Muslim, and we'll just go to the definition of Islam right there. Islam, it has the roots in the word as-salam, which means peace. And a Muslim is someone who submits themselves, their will to God. And we consider God as the higher being that we submit ourselves to, and we adore him throughout worships. We have 5 pillars. We have believing in God as one unique God that we submit ourselves to. We have the daily prayers, so 5 times a day we try to remember God. We have the fasting of Ramadan, so we fast for 30 days from before sunrise to after sunset. We have the zakah, which is around 2.5% of your whole wealth. You have to give it to the poor and the people that need it after 1 full year. And then we have the pilgrimage to our holy place, Mecca, if you have the means. So I think right now my focus is just on the pillars and trying to practice every day, because being a Muslim is being consistent and reminding yourself that you don't have to be perfect, but you have to try every single day. And that's where I am right now. And there is a verse in the Quran that says, it's chapter 2, verse 256, there is no compulsion in religion. So at the end of the day, you have to reflect for yourself. You have to find yourself through this journey. You have to explore different things. If you have doubts in Islam, it's actually encouraged to have doubts. And how many times God mentions in the Quran, which is our holy book, like, why would you not reflect? Like, look at the world, look at the universe, astronomy. Some of the biggest scientists in the history of the world were Muslim. If you look at algorithm, it was created by a Muslim person. If you look at some of the first universities in the world. So it's a religion that encourages knowledge, and seeking knowledge is where I am right now in my journey.
I love that. And I feel like allowing yourself to question and reflect is really how you make that shift from allowing your faith to not only be something that you just grew up with, but allowing it to be something that personally impacts you every day. You mentioned the 5 daily prayers. Can you tell me a little bit about what that looks like for you, and what that means for you?
Okay. Full disclaimer, I am not perfect. I sometimes miss my prayers. It is something that is very important for Muslims. It's one of the pillars, obviously. So we do it 5 times throughout the day. The first time is Fajr, so right before the sun rises, and then around noon, afternoon, after the sunset, and then at night. So those are 5 daily prayers. And I try to do those as much as I can in remembrance of God, in remembrance that at the end of the day, this life is not the only focus that I have, and that I can go to this being and confess myself and tell him about what I want out of this world, and the guidance that I want, and the support that I want, and that I can just express myself to this being that will support me in whatever endeavor I'm pursuing at that time. So it's almost like therapy. 5 times throughout the day is how I describe it. And it builds discipline if you're able to do it on a consistent basis. And back home, we would gather and pray together. So it brings the community together, men and women, children, young. And it doesn't matter your ethnicity, how much money you have, nothing at all. At the end of the day, when we come to pray, everyone is staying on the same line. We are all adoring one God, and that belief brings us all together. So prayer, in simple terms, is, we call it salah in Islam, is how you get close to God and how you give gratitude to what you have, because we all have so much. Think about it. We are healthy, we're young, we're going to college, getting a good degree, hopefully gonna make a lot of money in the future.
Fingers crossed.
Right. But we have great communities around us that support us, and prayer for me is a way to give thanks for what we have and to ask for more, because God is all merciful and is always willing to give more to those who submit themselves to Him.
I love that. I think you make such a good point about understanding that religion is about relationships, whether that be relationships within your community or relationships with God. And I think that having those relationships and connections makes so much about life easier. How do you feel like your relationship with God and your relationship with your community has like progressed as you've gotten older? Like, what does that relationship look like for you right now as a senior college student? Lots of different obligations, lots of things going on. How does your religion play into that as far as like a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, like I said, in Islam, consistency is the basis of everything. So I try to apply religion wherever I go. In every single interaction, I'm thinking in the back of my mind, even subconsciously, even, it's like I am interacting with this person because they're human like me. In the Quran, chapter 49, verse 13, it says, "O humanity, we created you from a male and female and made you into different peoples and we've made you diverse so that you can learn from one another." So in every interaction, I'm trying to learn from the other person. I am looking beyond what they believe, because, how lucky am I to have been born Muslim? And other people may have different beliefs. At the end of the day, that does not matter as much as the single factor that we all humans. So in every interaction, I have that in the back of my mind, as well as on a personal basis. I think Islam has made me more prone to learn more about myself as a human being, and then seek help from other communities, because we're all the same.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You bring up a great point, and we talk about it a lot in regards to building interfaith dialogue. And it's having that sense of confidence and conviction within your own belief. And it's very clear that you are very confident in your relationship with God and the things that you believe. And I think that's kind of what allows you to be open and excited about exploring diversity within worldviews. Because you're so comfortable and confident in what you know, there's a sense of curiosity and excitement when learning about what other people know. And I love what you said about how there's so much that we have to learn from one another. And I think being open to understanding other people's worldviews and how faith changes their lives allows you to gain a different perspective of what matters to you and what matters to your faith. And I think we forget about that so much when we are talking about people who believe different things than us. And sometimes those things can be contradictory. But I think that when you do it the right way, it almost allows you to build even more conviction with what you know and what you believe. So I love hearing you talk just about your excitement and confidence within what you know and what you believe, and how you allow that to change the way that you interact with others and just go about your life.
Absolutely.
Kind of shifting a little bit about, I want to talk a little bit about your community now. So Mo studies at UVU, just like the rest of us. He's about to graduate, but do you feel like there is a sense of difficulty living here and living in this community when it comes to like holding your particular beliefs and commitments?
I am so thankful for Utah Valley University for being a place for everyone, truly, because it allows us through different means to all have our says. I think the hardest thing being in a foreign country where you're not the norm, your religion or your belief is not the norm, is not, at least here in Utah for me, hasn't been hostility of any kind. I think the people here are really open about learning from other people. The hardest part is maybe ignorance from other people, which you have to tolerate and be patient about. So having to teach people about your own faith, and maybe people have stereotypes and things that sometimes that are challenging. And the best way to come about that is through dialogue. You have to be open. And for those who are of a different religion that are here in Utah and that are struggling with it, I think you should not get tired of explaining yourself if you want people to get the best understanding. So that's kind of the mindset that I've adopted here. And as someone who grew up in somewhere like Utah, where the LDS church, Mali, is with Islam, so when moving away in a different country, you kind of lose that community a little bit. So it's my responsibility to find that community, and there is. I've been lucky to have gone to different mosques here. There's Muslim associations. There's the Utah Islamic Center that we try to get involved with. So I think the community is there, but the struggle maybe is finding the community and reaching out to the right people when you need help. But I am very thankful. I'm in a very privileged spot where I have friends that are faithful like me, so we try to help each other in that journey.
Yeah. You mentioned that occasionally you run into stereotypes or maybe people misunderstanding your beliefs. I think it's great that you have the mindset of being okay to just continue to explain what you believe. I think that is just a very healthy standpoint to have. Tell me a little bit more about maybe some misconceptions that you run into within your faith or stereotypes that you've felt or seen within your religion?
Yeah. In 2026, it's hard to be a Muslim, right? Like any faith. I think we are at a point in history where having any kind of monotheistic or whatever that be faith, secularity is becoming the norm. And having boundaries with people and just holding your ground when it comes to your faith is sometimes seen like you're not open-minded or things like that. But I think the main stereotype with Islam in the United States is obviously that, you know, Muslims are terrorists, right? After 9/11, you know, very tragic events have happened here and throughout the world. A lot of people are acting in the name of Islam, but they are missing the principles of Islam. They are missing the principles of tolerating your neighbor. They are missing the principle of loving. The Quran starts with Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, and that is Arabic. It says, in the name of Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful. And that mercy is not reserved for one. That mercy goes through the whole world, the whole universe. You look at a tree, we're breathing oxygen. You and me, we are able to see each other. All that is the mercy of God. And that applies to Islam at its core, right? Islam encourages to do dialogue with people that you do not agree with, right? So I think because of some outliers, because there's 2 billion Muslims in the world, there's some people that act in the name of Islam that are portraying us bad. There's the stereotype of a Muslim person is someone that is Arab or, you know, and these are very rigid men that are oppressive to women. And that is not true about Islam, right? If you read the scriptures, Islam does not encourage none of that. Islam encourages treating women good. When the Prophet was asked by one of his companions, who do you choose between your mom? Who do you owe more like mercy to between your mom and dad? He answered 3 times your mom, because we know how much women are important, right? They give birth. And they are not to be limited to that function, right? Women, we cannot do anything without them, right? I could not be anything without my mom, and I don't think any good household can be held without a good woman. And in Islam, we have this stereotype of like, you know, women do not get educated, or, you know, they just stay-at-home moms, and it's not like that either. One of the first universities, like I mentioned, was created by a Muslim woman in Saudi Arabia. And there's a lot of those, but I think for anyone that is curious about Islam, don't limit yourself to what you see online, right? Someone would take a verse and, you know, remove all the context from it and interpret it a certain way, but it's not like that. So stereotypes and biases, it's all a part of us. It's very important to recognize that we have them, but what is even more important is to question them every day, no matter what.
I think you bring up such a great point of talking about how in 2026, it's so common to run into this idea of segregating based off of our like very specific beliefs, political stances, worldviews, to where we do make these very generalized statements and have very sometimes damaging misconceptions about one another. And I love just this idea of being open and curious. I think that's at the end of the day that all we can really do to continue to embrace the diversity that we have in this country within UVU is being open and curious to hearing the worldviews and the beliefs of others. And so I kind of wanted to ask you if you feel like you've had any experiences or any times where maybe you were bias towards another worldview, because I think you're right in saying we all have our biases. We all have our misconceptions. Like, we just assume as human beings. We make assumptions based off of what we know and what we've seen and what we've been taught. So have you had any experiences where maybe you've been biased or assumed things about another worldview and then learned something new about it?
Yes and no. I think I have this practice and this tendency to just question whatever comes to me about anyone. And as a background, I was an exchange student in 2020 at around 15, 16 years old. So I got exposed to a lot of different cultures very early on to have that almost natural tendency not to indulge in believing something about people without seeking to know, if you will. So, whenever I hear something, I don't just take it and consume it and just, okay, make this persona about a specific group. I try to seek people that have been in, that are a part of that group. And, for reference, maybe, coming in Utah, the LDS church, I had no idea about what it was. What I heard about it was these people in the middle of Utah, they have their faith, and just like us, they have the rights to marry more than one woman or whatnot, and they have this very niche religion, almost like a sect or something. You hear things like that. But I think the best way to overcome those stereotypes and biases is interacting with people of those faiths. And I have been lucky to have missionaries come to my house, and I have great discussions with them all the time. I have learned so much about the Latter-day Saints faith that, when someone on the internet, a friend or someone that doesn't know anything about the LDS faith come to me and they're spreading all these stereotypes, like, you probably have to come here in Utah and see for yourself and not get stuck in that loop of, I know these people, there's this about them. You keep feeding that same belief over and over until you create this image of those people, but it's not really like that. Get to know people, get to know their faith.
And it is so hard when you have gotten to a point where you've created this 4K image of somebody and what you think they believe and what you think they represent.
Right.
But I think you're spot on with acknowledging that really the only way to move past that is to have friendships and personal relationships with people of different faiths. You play such an important role in helping others who aren't familiar with your faith and with the LDS faith get a better understanding of what it really looks like to believe in those things. And that's what's so important about interfaith dialogue and embracing diversity and having those friendships, is that's really the only way that we move past those assumptions and those how quick and easy we are to put people in a box and assume we know everything about them, just about the little that we know.
Yeah.
So those interfaith relationships are so important, and I love to hear that that's been such a big part of your life and the way that you've moved forward with building relationships being in Utah. So we talked a little bit about misconceptions, biases within your own religious context. I want to touch a little bit about a couple of the other people that I'm interviewing as a part of my project. Mm-hmm. So what do you think about, or what's the first thing you think about when you hear someone identify as a deep ecologist?
Deep ecologist, okay. Ecology is something that I hear a lot. I did not really know that was a belief system that was out there, but it would make me think about someone that's, trying to make the world sustainable and, think of different ways to, recycle or, protect the earth and plant trees, which is quite adjacent with what Muslims believe, because we believe that the earth is one of our responsibilities and we have to take care of it. So don't know a lot about that specific belief system, but I would love to learn more.
I love that. I love that you're already drawing connections. That is so awesome. What about Catholic? Like, what do you think about when you hear Catholics?
Catholics, they believe in Jesus. So do we as Muslims. We believe in him as a prophet, and I think Catholics believe in Jesus as they believe in the Holy Ghost, the Holy Ghost. So like the Trinity, and Jesus being the Son of God. That's our main difference. And I think Christianity in general has a lot of commonalities with Islam because they're all monotheistic religions from the same roots. Like we believe actually as Muslims that they all come from the same source, which is God, Allah, however you want to call him.
Yeah.
So I think very highly of all Christian religions, and I think we have a lot of beliefs that are similar, like serving your community or family-oriented beliefs, or being very dedicated to your faith. So when I think of Catholic, I think of someone who is deeply rooted in Jesus as the Savior, and someone who carries that in their day-to-day. I've interacted with a lot of Catholics, and just good experiences so far.
Mo is perfect for this podcast because you're such a great example of being knowledgeable about your own worldviews, but also being knowledgeable and aware of the worldviews of those around you, which makes this discussion so fun and so exciting because I think you are a great example of being confident in what you know and what you believe, but also being excited to hear and understand what other people believe. I think at the end of the day, that's all we really want, is to feel seen and to feel understood by our peers and those that we care about. And I think it says a lot about you that you have come to UVU in a place where you are a minority and been so excited and open to learn about all the ways and all the things that make us different and how those change the way that we perceive the world and how those change the way that we interact with people. You are just so knowledgeable about what I believe and what my peers believe, and I think that it's just very admirable. I admire you and your ability to just spew off a great explanation of what some of your other peers believe and the things that they follow and represent. I think that's so awesome. Basically, you've been great, and I love talking to you.
Thank you so much. It's been an honor. Your questions have led to my answers, so all the credit goes to you. And shout out to the Reflection Center at UVU for having a space for us on campus where you can go and practice your religion. I think that is very important for people to have that space.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, just the last thing. For somebody listening who might not know very much about Islam or being Muslim, what is one thing that you want them to take away from your story?
For anyone that is not as familiar with Islam or has a lot of ideas in general, I encourage you to read our holy book, the Quran. That is the basis of everything. Go ahead, take it. There's translated versions of it in English. So it's available. We have the internet. Now we have AI that makes search even easier. But go directly to the source. Don't take it from people, from things that you see on the media or whatnot. I think it's very important that you do your own research and that you do reflect. I would like you to know that Islam is a religion of peace that invites to peace and love of your brothers, of your sisters, and that it's something that if everyone understands it, it unites us way more than it can ever divide us, and that we all have those amazing things in common, and Islam just brings us all together.
Thank you so much, Mo. You're awesome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you have any questions or are interested in learning anything more about what we discussed in our podcast today, there are links in the description below.